Hey guys, April here. Welcome to my channel and welcome to a comic book review where I discuss some of the comic books I have read in recent weeks, or at least since the last time I've done this. I've read some pretty good things over the last few weeks and I have finished one of the series I was reading, so I'll discuss that toward the end, but let's get started. First up in the DC world, I have been reading Naomi. This is issue 1. Issue 2, and today issue 3 was released. This is a new story from the DC world written by Brian Michael Bendis and David F. Walker, and the art is done by Jamal Campbell and the letters are done by Josh Reed. Naomi is a brand new character within the DC superhero universe, and basically this is kind of potentially an origin story. I say potentially because we haven't really found out what is actually going on. The story begins with Naomi. She's a 17-year-old adoptee who lives in a small town in middle America who happens to be one of Superman's biggest fans. She loves the guy. Well, one day Superman actually appears in her town. He's only there for a few moments fighting a villain, but those few moments and the close proximity she was to Superman kind of changes her perspective on her own situation. You see, Naomi is an adoptee herself and she always kind of felt out of place. But somehow this event has prompted her to start asking questions. But in her most recent therapy session, her therapist suggests that maybe her admiration and fanaticism with Superman has a lot to do with the fact that Superman too is somewhat of an adopted son. He's not from Earth, but the entire world has adopted him as our own, and we have a great deal of love and appreciation for who he is, regardless of where he comes from. And she believes that Naomi, as an adopted person, may also want that for herself. And that's a reasonable conclusion to come to. And Naomi agrees with it to a degree, but she feels that there's something more. So she begins digging. She asks her parents, she asks her friends around town if they know of anything maybe strange that ever happened in their small town. And 17 years ago, the day Naomi was adopted, something odd did happen. I'm going to leave it right there because basically I don't want to tell you anymore because I think you should read it. Overall, I really like where this is going. The reveal about her and who she is slow, but we do get some answers in issue number 3. Overall, I really love the writing style. I like the dialogue and the relationship between characters. I like the pacing and I love the artwork. These are like the first few pages. Look at the color. Oh, this is gorgeous. And as a person of color, I love that they have taken care and detail into making her look a specific type of way. I think she looks great. I love how she's drawn. I like how her hair is styled. I like the texture and the shading of her skin. You'd be surprised at how difficult that is for some people. I actually like these panels too. Those are really neat. This blocking panel here, it really is effective at communicating. Overall, I am enjoying the story. I'm enjoying the book. I think it looks fantastic. And to be at the beginning of a potential new superhero being introduced into the DCU is amazing. I am so excited to see where this goes. I think it's going to spawn a whole new generation of maybe super powered people. And I think that's a great thing. Where I don't have a problem with Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and the like, I don't like the idea of constantly recasting them with other people to make them fresh. They're comic book characters, kind of like the Simpsons. They can be eternal if you want to change the look, change the demographic, change the culture of the DCU. Don't recast old characters, bring in fresh new characters. And I think Brian Michael Bendis and David Walker here are doing just that, injecting something new into the DCU in order to keep it pushing and for the future. I like it. and I can't wait to see where this goes. So if you're interested in Naomi, the first 3 issues are out. I think you can probably pick them up at your local comic book shop or grab them online. I know all of this stuff is available for digital download, and I definitely do suggest it. Next up from DC also is Shazam Volume 1, written by Jeff Johns and art done by Gary Frank, my favorite dynamic duo from the DCU. The reason why I picked this up was specifically because the movie's coming out. I don't know anything about this character, and from the trailers I was a little concerned. It kind of came off like a Superman spoof movie, and no shade to Scott Snyder or Henry Cavill. However, I don't think either of those movies were good enough for anybody to be spoofing. Forgive me if I was someone concerned about what was going on there. I said, let's pick it up and see what's going on. Besides, how can I go wrong with Gary Frank and Jeff Johns? And I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised. Now, I do believe that this volume, Volume 1, is possibly the entirety of the movie. So if you don't want to be spoiled, don't read this. However, if you were concerned about the narrative as I would give it a peruse because it was refreshingly good. It centers around a boy named Billy Batson. He is a 15-year-old orphan who has just been introduced to his new foster family, who has about 6 other kids living there, but they seem like a nice couple. They're not one of these weirdos who adopts children just to get the money. Billy, on the other hand, has been through quite a bit, and he is not a trusting soul. So let's just say he rubs everybody the wrong way. But magic is coming back to the world. I guess it was here before, and then it was taken away for other reasons, but it's making an appearance back, and a champion of magic is needed. So the previous Shazam, seems kind of like an All Might thing if you're familiar with My Hero Academia, where you can transfer the power from one person to another. He's in desperate need to get this power transferred to a new champion. So Billy is chosen. If you remember television around the early 80s, there was a show called The Greatest American Hero, and that guy happened to get like a super suit, but he lost the directions and didn't know how to use it. That's pretty much Billy's situation. He has the Shazam ability, but he's not really certain on how to use it or what he's supposed to be doing with it. And the old man who gave him the powers isn't in any really position to tell him because I think he died. I'm not certain, but I think he did. So he's trying to learn how to be Shazam or what his purpose is for. And he's unfortunately also learning that there are other beings involved who are magical and who are going to bring death and destruction to the world. And he is the only thing standing in their way. I don't think I'm explaining this very well, but I'm trying to be somewhat vague because the movie is coming out. What I will say is, similar to Naomi, I think the writing was pretty tight. I really enjoyed the dialogue and the relationships, again, between Billy and his new foster siblings and his parents and basically everybody he came in contact with. He isn't the most likable person, to be sure, but you still empathize with him, and that's a really tight line to walk. I also enjoyed the humor in here. That was one of the things I was really concerned about from the trailers. It really looked it came off kind of slapsticky, which I was hoping to avoid. What I'm not interested in with the film is getting a Zachary Levi pretending to be Ryan Reynolds pretending to be Superman. You get my point? But this definitely is a different type of humor, which I appreciate. It's more grounded, it's actually funny, and it doesn't look cheesy or played for laughs. So thankfully, this has quelled my fears, and honestly, it was a really good read. I'm definitely interested in continuing this on. Now, I don't think I need to say too much about the artwork. Like I said, it is done by Gary Frank, and look at it. Look at this. I know, I'm just a pure stan. Brad Anderson is the colorist on this, so let's give him credit too, because I think the coloring is just fantastic. I think I showed you this one. So there's this. And here he is. Yeah, really nice job. So again, if you were questioning the film and you want to get like a brief synopsis of it, or possibly the entire thing, I would pick this up. If you're just looking for a kind of lighter fare from DC in the world of superheroes, I think this will be a good bet. I do think there is some emotional depth to this story, so look out for that. I mean, it's not, you know, Powerpuff Girls or anything, so it's not that light, but it's definitely lighter than the Batman fare we've been getting, because the Batman Who Laughs and the Grim Knight are just kind of, they're killing my buzz, man. So this kind of lifted my spirits. So Shazam #1, Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, doing the darn thing. Love it. Next up, I have something from the indie world, and that is Heart in a Box. Written by Kelly Thompson, and the art is done by Meredith McLaren, and this was distributed by Dark Horse Originals. This is a story about a woman named Emma who has recently gone through a very bad breakup, and her heart is broken. She is in pain emotionally, maybe to the point of feeling it physically. If you've ever been through a horrible breakup, you know what I mean. Her friend Zan takes her out on the town to try to lift her spirits and break up the monotony of just being in the house and crying into her sheets. But she really isn't ready to be out, and she needs a little alone time, so she escapes into a quiet place, and in a moment of weakness, she makes a wish. She wished that this heart wouldn't be hers anymore. And miraculously, a man appears that she affectionately names Bob. Bob says that he can make her wish come true and take her broken heart from her, and she would no longer feel that pain. I think she kind of half-heartedly believed him, but she says if he could do that, she wants him to do it. And at that moment, he does just that. He takes her heart. Not like he reaches into her chest and rips it out, but it's more of a spiritual removal. But in those moments, she feels instant relief. She no longer feels that pain. But before Bob leaves, he passes her his card and say, if you have any questions, just give me a call. She kind of half-heartedly listens to it because she's so thankful that she's no longer in pain. But after a few days, she begins to understand that it is not relief she's feeling, it's emptiness. Now that her heart is gone, she doesn't feel anything. Not sadness, not joy. But she instantly calls Bob and asks him to come back and bring her heart. Bob does return as called, but unfortunately he can't give her heart back because he's already had it distributed to other people, multiple people. But he does have a little piece of it left, which he does return to her. And he says she can use that piece to find the other pieces because all hearts want to be whole. So basically the book goes on as a journey of Emma trying to put her heart back together. I thought it was a sweet and beautifully told story. There are some darker elements to it. I won't spoil those for you. But overall, that didn't color or create a shadow over the intended tale that is being told here. I really enjoyed this story. It was kind of a cover by. I think I read the blurb on the back. In a moment of depression, Emma wishes her broken heart away, and a mysterious stranger who may or may not be totally evil obliges. But emptiness is even worse than grief, and Emma sets out to collect the 7 pieces of her heart now spread across the country. A journey that forces her to face her own history and leads inevitably to a confrontation with the man with no name himself. Yeah, I read that. I picked it up, and I am so glad I did. I definitely have to look more into Dark Horse's original offerings because this was fantastic. I believe it was written in 2015. I'm so sorry I missed it. I'm sure that both of these artists have come out with other offerings, and I'm definitely going to look them up. I thought this was really nice. The only downside to it is some of the artwork. Overall, I did like it. I don't know if you can see it. The light's getting kind of bright. I did like the artwork. It's a little surreal and moody, which perfectly went with the story. However, there were some scenes that were a little hard to make out what was going on. Like kind of in here, in these two panels. And then some of the lettering, like depending on where and how you read it, like right now it's full light. But this color panel, it just depends. Maybe because I read this at night, it was just sometimes difficult to make out everything that was going on and what was being said. I figured it out. This is more slice of life with a little mysticism, magicalness to it. You'll have to come to your own conclusion about Bob. I don't know if evil is the word that I would have used for him, but he's definitely a trickster. I will say that. But I think for Emma's tale, it's pretty much done. And I think it came to a nice resolution. Heart in a box. And lastly is Nailbiter. I've talked about this before because I started this series last year, but I picked up the final trade paperback around the holiday season. I think I got it for Black Friday, and I finally finished the series. In fact, I just started over and marathoned it from the very first issue all the way through to the last. And I have to say, I was a little disappointed with the ending. Before you crucify me in the comment section and thumbs down this entire video, I just want to say that I did enjoy the story. I liked Joshua Williams' writing. I liked Mike Henderson's artwork. You know, logistically, aesthetically, mechanically, this was a good story. It was well executed, well told, and the artwork was really nice. And let me give a brief synopsis for those who may not have read the story. This story is about Edward Nailbiter Warren. He is the 16th serial killer to hail from a small town called Buckaroo, Oregon. Edward was captured in act. However, he was acquitted of all charges and allowed to go back to his hometown. With 15 other serial killers hailing from this same location, of course, curiosity is piqued for those who want to know what the heck is going on in Buckaroo. One of the people whose interest is piqued is a man named Elliot Carroll. Elliot Carroll. He is an agent with the FBI, and he is very curious to find out what is the secret in Buckaroo that would produce so many violent people. He goes there. He discovers something, but before he can actually reveal his discovery, he goes missing. And a friend of his, an army interrogator named Finch, well, he's an interrogator by name, but he's more of a torture artist. He comes looking for his friend along with another agent. I can't remember what her name was. And then with the help of the local sheriff, Sheriff Crane, they go about solving not only the mystery of the disappearance of Agent Carroll, but also what the heck is going on in Buckaroo. So the first act of this series is really about Agent Carroll and his disappearance. What happened there? And that was pretty good. It did also kind of give us a thread about Buckaroo, a backstory, told us some information about some current residents and also some previous residents like other serial killers, the book burner, the WTF killer, the blonde, and so on. So that was all fascinating. And they also dropped little breadcrumbs as to what is the deal with this town and these violent people. And those breadcrumbs range from possible religious cursing to government experimentation. But the true core of the first act of this series is about what happened to Agent Carroll. The second act kind of comes to a resolution about that and then goes into why does this happen to him? Why was he abducted? Who are the people involved trying to cover it up? Plus, we're still trying to answer the question about what's going on in Buckaroo. The second act I actually enjoyed too, especially the little side issue where Brian Michael Bendis is a character within this story and he comes to Buckaroo through with the idea that he's going to collect information and write a horror book, or maybe some kind of biography about the town. I don't know. It was a funny little vignette, and I really did enjoy that. And then we get to the third act, which basically answers all of these questions. The who, the what, the why, the how. And that's where it kind of lost me. First off, when you get to the third act, it feels like somebody said, it's time to get this over with. Let's just wrap this story up. So everything's sped up times 10. And then there was the reveals themselves. And some of them hit. I thought some of them were really sharp and telling. And then others were more like, So we went through all this for that, but you get a little pop after that. So if you like the kind of thing, that little extra hint of something more, you'll get some satisfaction. I remember from the first time how much I enjoyed the beginnings of this story. And even with my reread, at the very top of it, this was a solid A book. Solid. But by the time I got to the end, I'm gonna say it settles around a B plus, maybe a B, maybe a B. Like I said, there is just some pacing issues toward the end, and then I felt like the revelation wasn't really much of a revelation. It was more like, duh. That's just me. I'm an old person, and I just have a thing about people expending a whole lot of energy on something that is clearly obvious to the rest of the world. There were two characters that I kind of related to the most, and that was Sheriff Crane and a teenage girl named Alice. I basically experienced the entire series through their vision, and I was able to relate to them more easily because their response to the lunacy that was going on around them was very similar to something that I think I would have had. So it was easy for me to kind of just attach to them and just kind of experience the story through their eyes. The weakest character for me was the interrogator Finch. He's the Army intelligence officer who was an interrogator, aka torturer. There was something about his character that rubbed me the wrong way. There was a weakness to him that I found kind of abhorrent. I didn't like not only how he focused on himself, but his reasons for being there, and then some of his excuses for his action and or inactions. They were contrived and cowardly in a way. And I know they were supposed to be spun differently, but cloaked in the atmosphere that he was in and what was happening around him, he was just sloppy. For a person who was supposedly trained in the Army to do intelligence work, I would have thought he would have handled some case that had personal elements to him, finding his friend Carol, with a little more skill and care. And then his ending just bugged me. It just bugged me. I didn't like it, and I didn't like him even in the end. And I think he was supposed to be the hero, so I don't really know what to say about that. Keep your eye on Sheriff Crane. She's the true hero of this story, if you ask me. So that's it, guys. Those are some of the comics that I have read recently. Of this group, I would have to say that Heart in a Box was the breakout favorite for me. It was just fresh and innovative and heartfelt. I honestly can't say more good things about it. So if you could find a copy of this, probably check Amazon. I would definitely suggest picking it up. And if you want to get in on the ground floor of a potential new hero, grab that Naomi, y'all, because this is looking good. But tell me what you guys think. What are you reading? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, give this one a thumbs up. And please subscribe, because you know your support is always appreciated. I will see you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.